Hey everybody, it's me, RunnerEye.
What are we watching? What is this representative of? I'm gonna lose my mind.
And today we're going to be predicting the cast for Drag Race All-Stars All Winners 2. I've read all the articles, I've watched all the interviews, and I've gathered a whole database of information to make an objective tier list ranking winners based on how likely they are to return to the show. So let's get into it right now. So first up, we have the first Drag Race winner ever, Bibi Zahara Benet. Now Bibi is already somebody who has returned for an All-Stars season. She was brought back as the mole on All-Stars 3, and when asked in a Gay Times interview in 2018 about an all-winners season, she said, "For a winner's season, never say never. It would depend on where I am and what I'm doing. Right now, that's my frame of mind." And keep in mind that this interview was done in 2018, and back then, an all-winter season hadn't happened yet, so she doesn't know at this point in time that it would be non-eliminations, and I imagine that, hearing that it's a non-elimination season would make it easier to go back. Although after All-Star 7 All Winners aired, when she was doing an interview, she said that the reason that she wasn't on that season is because the timing wasn't right. So I don't think that she's completely out of the running, but I also don't think that she's necessarily dying to go back to do it. It's possible, but it's more towards not likely than it would be likely. Now we're going from season 1 all the way to season 6, because the season 2 and 4 winner definitely are not coming back, just given the stuff that they've done outside of the show. And then the season 3 and 5 winner were on the last all-winner season. We're not going to count people who have already been on All-Star 7. They're out of the running. So that leads us to the season 6 winner, Bianca Del Rio. Now, Bianca Del Rio has been very open about the fact that she was asked to do All Winners 1, but she turned it down. In a Digital Spy interview, when asked if she got the call for All-Star 7, she said, "I did, yeah, and I wasn't interested. Had the format been a little different and had the situation been a little more interesting to me, I would have said yes. Also know this, I would never cancel dates or cancel a tour to go filming." So it was just a lot of factors that didn't seem to play out for me. She then explains that the problem that she has with returning for an all-winner season is that she doesn't like that it would be competitive, and that she would come back if they did an all-winner season, but it was kind of like a Big Brother thing and they all just lived in a house, or if they put them out in the wilderness somewhere. It seems like she wants to be on Big Brother or Survivors. If you take away everything that makes Drag Race, it's not Drag Race anymore, so I don't think that she wants to do Drag Race, guys. I'm just gonna put that out there. She would only do it if they changed the show and made it not Drag Race, as well as her having a free schedule. Both of those things I don't think are likely to come anytime soon. Now on to season 7's winner, Violet Chachki. Now Violet's a weird one because for a long time, Violet was very, high on the idea of coming back to Drag Race.
So let's say we're doing Drag Race Superstars, the all-winner season. Are you gonna play mind games?
Well, the real question is, are you gonna be doing the season with me?
But then the incident happened, where in 2022, Violet and Gottmik were asked to do Fashion Photo Review for All-Star 7, the original all-winner season. And for those who don't know, Fashion Photo Review is basically just like an online show where they get queens in, specifically Raja and Raven normally, to judge people's outfits and give them a toot, which is like, we like the outfit, or a boot, which is like, you did bad with the outfit. And so when Violet was brought in to critique outfits, and then she actually did, the fan base lost their minds. Despite the fact that that's kind of Violet's whole thing, and that's why people love her being on the pit stop, because she's very ruthless. So, when they called for her to do Fashion Photo Review, because the fans wanted her to do Fashion Photo Review, and then when she did it, she was torn to shreds, so I don't know. But on their online show, No Gorge, both Violet and Gottmik talked about how after doing Fashion Photo Review, they were absolutely ripped to shreds, and they received a lot of death threats and transphobic messages and all that kind of stuff, leading Violet to say,
"The other thing is that I don't necessarily need to be associated with this franchise anymore, honestly. After this experience, I'm you guys can keep it. Getting death threats and transphobia, it's not worth it."
She did an interview with Gay Times, and when asked about doing All Winter Season 2, she said, "I used to say that I would love to come back, but I don't think so anymore. It's just not for me. I definitely love working in TV, but the Drag Race fandom in the franchise is just so intense. I'm just not in that headspace anymore, so for me, it's probably a no." However, at the end of the interview, she does say that she's a Gemini, and so she might change her mind in the future, but for now that it's a no. So just at this moment in time for doing All Winners 2, I'm putting Violet in the not likely category, and the Drag Race fandom has no one to blame but themselves. So next up we have the season 8 winner, Bob the Drag Queen, who actually has a very similar story to Violet Chachki, where Bob was one of those big advocates for doing an all-winner season before it actually happened, and she would talk every now and then about how she wanted to do the winner season, and she would add fuel to the fire by asking winners on the pit stop if they would do an all-winner season. So she was pretty active in stoking the flames.
Drag Race Superstars. By the way, every time I mention Drag Race Superstars, the fans
they go bananas.
However, the tragedy came when All Stars 7 All Winners came around and she was not asked to do it. With a lot of people theorizing that they were saving some of the big, heavy hitters for the, subsequent All Winners seasons. However, after seeing how the season went for some of the winners on All Stars 7, specifically Monet Exchange, and the questionable, rumors of the stuff that was happening in terms of production, Bob's interest in wanting to compete on a winners season has practically disappeared. On a podcast that she did literally a couple of weeks ago, when asked if she would come back for an all winners season, she said,
I think I'm good.
Yeah.
I won already, and also going to All Stars is no shade, but that's for losers. They did do an all winner season one time, but I wasn't invited, and I probably would have said no anyway.
And so I'm gonna have to break a lot of people's hearts when I say this, but Bob is going in the not likely tier. So next up we have season 9 winner Sasha Velour, and surprisingly enough, Sasha is the first person that we're gonna be talking about who is absolutely down to do All Stars All Winners 2. She said it in 1,000 interviews. I think she's basically a lock at this point.
Sasha, what are we thinking? Are we manifesting all winners as well?
I'm down, and I have a whole basement full of amazing clothes to restyle for television, so call me up.
Which is funny because before the first All Winners season, Sasha was actually very hesitant on the idea of coming back, and she said that she didn't want to get eliminated and would never re-enter a format which was competitive. But after All Star 7 aired, and she saw that it was a non-elimination format, she started to show a little bit of interest in coming back, until eventually that's evolved to now where she's actively, openly admitting in interviews that she is dying. She said she's dying to come back. That was her exact language. So surprisingly enough, Sasha Velour is our first lock of the day. She's gonna be on All Winners 2. I'm predicting it now. Put her in that top tier. So next up we have season 10 winner Aquaria, one of the winners who has been more quiet about whether she would come back or not. However, in 2019, she was asked by Cosmopolitan about whether she would come back for an all winner season, and she said, I don't necessarily need to. I enjoy sharing my art to those that enjoy me and not trying to appeal to those who don't, which isn't a super direct answer to the question, and that was before the all winner season was announced to be a non-elimination, so that might change her mind. But from what I've seen, unless she said it in a, niche, Roscoe's interview or an Instagram live or something, there's pretty much no information about whether she would come back. And if she does want to come back, it's not necessarily that she's dying to do it. I think we're gonna put her in the possible tier. So next up we have Simone, the winner of season 13, who before making this video, I was under the impression that Simone had never said anything about it. However, I actually did find a 2021 interview with The Playlist, which was right after her win, where she was asked about returning for an all winner season, and she said, oh my god, yes, I would need a minute, but I would love to go back and show the growth that I would have over time. I would want to go back in a few years or two. That was 2021. It's 2025 now. That is over a few years or two. She's going on the list. It's happening. So next up we have the season 14 winner Willow Pill. And out of the 19 winners that we're going to be talking about today, Willow Pill is one of the 2 who has said absolutely nothing about an all winner season. Unless I've missed it, and if I have out there, please shout. I would love to know. But from what I've seen online is there's absolutely no information about it. She hasn't been asked about it. She hasn't posted about it on social media. She hasn't expressed any interest in it or any disinterest. So we really don't know where she stands. And because we don't know where she stands on it, I'm going to put her in the possible tier because, again, we don't have information leaning her either way. So next up, we have the season 15 winner, Sasha Colby. And Sasha Colby is one of those ones that we're going to be talking about here today, which is super surprising to me because similar to Sasha Velour, Sasha Colby is so down to do an all-winner season. She's talked about it a good couple of times and has said yes every single time.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, absolutely. I would love to do it. I mean, I love a good competition anyway. Mother loves a competition. She really does. I would love to. Yeah, for sure.
She has no real reservations about coming back, other than she said that she would rather it be a couple years in the future. But with the amount of times that she's talked about how she would love to do it and how she loves competitions, I think if they came back to her and said, hey, we're doing All Winners 2, would you be down for it? I think that she's going to say yes because of how many times that she said that she wants to do it online. So she is in our top tier. She is a lock for the next season. So next up, we have the season 16 winner, Nymphia Wind. And Nymphia, good timing because she literally talked about this for the first time 2 weeks ago in an interview with Pride where she said,
when simply asked the question, you simply must say yes. I will definitely do it. If I do get the opportunity, I would be very excited to go back.
This little twink is doing God's work. He's doing God's journalism. This is all the stuff that we want to know. And I think that if Drag Race got the opportunity to have Nymphia on again, the great fashion, she has a huge fan base. People love her. I think they would easily choose her as one of the 8 that they would put on the show. So next up, we have our season 17 winner, Anya Nerve. And given the fact that she literally won like 3 weeks ago, it is very okay that she has never said anything about doing an all-winner season. At least not that I could find. Like, she just left Drag Race. Who would be insane enough to leave Drag Race and then return like 3 days later? If I had to guess, I would say Anya would be, you know, very much down to return for an all-winner season, but I also don't want to assume. We have no information. I'm gonna put her in the possible tier because we don't know. We don't know. So next up, we have the All-Stars winners. Starting out with our first All-Star winner, we have Chad Michaels. Now, Chad Michaels is a very interesting case to me because a lot of people have Chad on their dream All-Stars All-Winners cast, and a lot of people just assume that Chad would come back because it's great publicity and she hasn't been on our screens since like the new era fans of Drag Race have joined. However, in a Pink News article, when asked if she would do an All-Winners season post All-Star 7, she said, "I'm at a point in my life, I just turned 53, where I'm just generally really happy. I've got the most beautiful private life. I don't feel at this point competitive at all. I just don't see myself back there." However, there is a little bit, a tiny bit of hope when she says, "I have to be completely honest. When I watched the All-Stars All-Winners, there was a little twinge in my heart of like, it would be fun. But yeah, at the end of the day, I've got to look at what's best for me." So while it's not an outright no from Chad, she definitely is not interested, or at least not as interested as people assume that she would be. Drag Race tends to throw at least 1 or 2 of the queens from the older seasons into the newer All-Stars, for instance Chanel on All-Stars 9. So I think a lot of people assume that for an all-winner season that Chad would be the old winner. Guys, we're not trying to do that joke.
Chad about to die, so Rue probably wanted him to be happy.
I think a lot of people are just jumping on the train that she should be interested because it's probably a good business move for her. But a lot of times, like, people are just happy, you know, and they're not going to make, you know, things that are good business moves. And she seems pretty happy with the quiet, peaceful life that she's living now. And I think that she's happy with coming back for, you know, appearances and little cameos on the show, but she doesn't seem that interested in returning. I would love to see her return. I hope that she does, but you know, I'm not going to hold it against her if she doesn't. So Chad is in the unlikely tier. So next up, we have the All-Stars 2 winner, Alaska Thunder Frick 5000. And probably along with Bob, Alaska is the most hyped winner to return for an all-winner season because she absolutely dominated All-Stars 2, and I think a lot of people are interested to see what she would bring if she came back again. However, her situation is a little bit complicated. There is a theory out there on the internet, as there often is, that Alaska has been blacklisted by the Drag Race production because of her friendship with Willem, someone that RuPaul actively dislikes and has beef with, and who is, safe to say, I think this is one of the more legitimate ones, is actually blacklisted from Drag Race. So this has led to the question of whether Alaska's friendship with Willem, and to a lesser extent Courtney Act, will affect whether or not she can ever return on the show again. And what also has added fuel to the rumors was that Alaska was very open about the fact that she didn't get the call for All Winners 1, despite the fact that she would have loved to have done it and would have said yes if she was given the opportunity. So that leaves Alaska in a little bit of a gray area. But before we get too far with the tinfoil hats, I do want to say that accusations of people being banned or blacklisted from Drag Race are very plenty, and they're almost always nothing but rumors. There was even a rumor before her All-Stars 9 appearance that Bob the Drag Queen was blacklisted from the show and that she would never get to go on All Winners, and that's why she didn't get the call for All Winners, was because she was blacklisted. And then she showed up on All Stars 9, and then people were like, oh, it's actually fine, and that was not real. And so I personally believe that that's the case here, because I know that the Pit Stop is run under like a different production company or something, but that is a show that is, you know, done in tandem with Drag Race. It's a Drag Race like talk show on the internet. They are very closely related.
Welcome back to the Pit Stop, the official recap series of RuPaul's Drag Race.
And Alaska has appeared on that show multiple times in recent years. And I don't think they would allow someone who is blacklisted from Drag Race to go on the Pit Stop. Like, we're never going to see Willem on the Pit Stop, but we have seen Alaska and we'll continue to see Alaska because I don't think she's blacklisted. The same way that people used to think that Bob was blacklisted, I think that the exact same equivalent is happening to Alaska here. They probably don't want to put all of their heavy hitters on one season. And so I do think that Alaska has a good chance of getting the call for one of these subsequent seasons. So even though this might upset the tinfoil hats out there, I'm gonna put her in the likely category. So next up we have the All-Stars 3 winner, Trixie Mattel, and we're not even gonna waste time with this. Trixie's never coming back to Drag Race. She has been very open about the fact that she did not like competing on Drag Race either time. She found it very stressful and very traumatic. I'm sorry to all the Trixie Mattel fans out there, but she is never coming back. So next up we have the All-Stars 6 winner, Kylie Sonique Love, and she was asked about this recently in a Gay Times interview where she said,
1,000%. Any excuse for me to put on a wig and some eyelashes and get in front of a camera, I'm in.
Even more trans representation on the All Winners season. I'm locking her in. She's in the top spot. So next up we have Jimbo, the All-Stars 8 winner, and in that exact same interview with Kylie Sonique Love, Jimbo was also asked if she would come back, and this is what she said.
I'm ready.
We also know that production absolutely loves Jimbo. Jimbo and RuPaul have like a friendship outside of the show. I think that she is actually, in terms of everyone we talked about, probably one of the most likely people to come back. Regardless of how you feel about Jimbo, I know that she's a very divisive character. Some people like her, some people don't. I think that there's a huge chance that she is on the next All Winners. So next up we have our most recent All-Stars winner, Angeria Paris Van Michaels. Now from what I could find online, Angeria has not been very vocal about whether or not she would do an All Winners season. However, she has made a couple of posts on the internet joking about going back to All Winners, like posting a joke video of Jimbo and her walking down the street titled Walking into All Winners 2 like, which makes me assume that she's interested, and I think that Angeria is just the type of person who is such a huge fan of Drag Race that if given the opportunity to come back and do an all-winner season, she would say yes every single time. That is just my vibes. So I think that she would be open to it at the very least. I think all the social media posts that she's made around it are enough to put her in likely. And just real quick, I'm going to mention 2 international winners who I think are very likely to be on the season. The first of these international winners being Drag Race UK Season 2 winner Lawrence Chaney, who out of everyone so far is the lock for All Winners 2. This one's not even a question. She is 1010% on this season. She is like RuPaul's favorite queen, like of all time. She remembers her name, which is like a huge deal for RuPaul. And also Lawrence has said that she would absolutely do it if she got the call. So all the things have aligned. She is 1010% on this season. It's not even a question. And the next international winner we're going to be talking about is Canada's Drag Race Season 1 winner, Priyanka. Now, surprisingly enough, Priyanka has actually been quite ambivalent about whether or not she would come back for an all-winner season, with her giving a very similar answer to BB in a Reddit AMA, where she basically said she would have to see where she was at that point in her life and that it's not a guarantee and that maybe she would come back, but maybe she would reject it, which does knock her likelihood of being on the season down a little bit. However, a couple of months ago, there was a clip of her at DragCon where she saw RuPaul walking by and she started yelling at RuPaul to cast her on All Winners 2.
Ru, that's crazy. All Winners 2. Put me on All Winners 2, Ru. Ru, I need to be on All Winners 2.
And someone who does not have any interest on going on an All Winner season would never make this joke. Like Trixie would never in a million years joke about this. I do think that the show is toying with the idea of casting her on the next All Winners. We did see that on All Stars 8, she was brought back as a lip sync assassin, the very first international lip sync assassin that RuPaul has never judged. And so I definitely think that that was them testing the waters. There's a shot of her being on the season, but her ambivalence about whether or not she would come back and her changing answers, it does kind of leave it in a little bit of a gray area, but I definitely think that she's more likely to say yes to coming back than say no. So she's going in the likely tier. So that's the tier list. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. I would really appreciate it. It helps me out and it helps my friends and family think I'm doing something with my life, and I really like that. I also have Instagram and TikTok. If you want to go check me out over there, please do. I also have a Patreon if you want to support the channel. This week, I went through Your Dream All-Stars All Winners 2 cast, so I talked through each and every single one of them and gave my thoughts and opinions and feelings on them. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Okay, it's porno music / Patreon time. Time to say a thank you to Linz, Chaos Goblin, Mr. Peralta, Jetta Like Jetta, Patty Lupone, Wretched Thrawn, Kaylee Sue, Queerberry Bush, PRHX, Say Is Gay, Kat, Frankie Deutsch, Alicia, He Himser, Ryan the Nerd, Vito Ruiz, Lucian, M. J. Stevenson, Celeste, did you just say Wig? Reese Burke, Cool Gal Nan, Vern Wisner, Brony RuPaul, Jabroni, Giovanni JPEG, Edgar Allan Pup, Count Cacula, Yuno, Planet Daniel, The Almighty Anginator, Mobster Lobster, Jamie James Bradshaw, Nico Montano, Ravi Kasari, Eve, Dip, Crazy Oats, Yoon White, Vico Pop, and Tone. Now, as you watch these beautiful names scroll down the screen, I will read you thank you in as many different languages as I know. Merci, gracias, danke, grazie, obrigado, spasibo, gurav mahagut, arigato. All of these languages I'm fluent in, by the way, so, you know, if this is your mother tongue and I'm butchering it, it's actually you who's been butchering it the entire time, and I've been saying it right. It's